They all loved it. It's a beautiful city. We had a lot of fun. A lot of fun at Jarry Park. We had a lot of fun here too. And even last year we had one of the best records at home playing here. The guys loved it here. We had to go to Puerto Rico for 6 games in September last year, and the Puerto Ricans didn't want to go because they would rather stay here. We just swept the Phillies. You know, we were number 1 in the wild card. We're number 1, but we couldn't get any help from Major League Baseball to get one minor league player. So we folded, and then we finally played over 500, but our hopes went down the drain from there on.
Well, really just one way to describe it, and that is bittersweet. That's it for us from here for now. At 6:30, be sure to tune back in. A half-hour-long show hosted by Ryan Payton, the history of the Montreal Expos, and then, of course, Rance and I will be back at 7 o'clock to bring you the very last game in Montreal Expos history. 36 years of National League Baseball. Now back to the Score Now and Steve Koulias.
Thanks very much, guys. And as you mentioned, we'll talk to you at the top of the hour for the last home game in the history of the Montreal Expos franchise. So baseball leaves Montreal and arrived in 1969. Baseball is now back in D.C. for the first time since September 30th, 1971. They moved to Texas after that campaign. Needless to say, the reaction in D.C. today was a group of people very pleased with the news from Major League Baseball.
You know, on September 30th, 1971, the Washington Senators played their last game in Washington, D.C. On September 29th, 2004, nearly 33 years to the day since they left, baseball is back in Washington, D.C.
We've worked long and hard. This is the last residual contraction. We have a lot of work to do yet. We're not really, I mean, you know, the Washington people have a lot of work to do. And I really don't want to comment any further because there isn't much for me to say.
It's been great 3 years here as far as that's concerned. And evidently it was a good place for baseball, else it wouldn't have lasted this long here. And it's a sad day that it has come to this.
Washington's a different city today than it was. And I think that's fair. And it's the whole metropolitan area is different. And, you know, Calvin left there in 1960 to go to Minneapolis, and then they put an expansion club that came in there, and they had a bunch of owners, and then Bob Short wanted to move them. But Washington was a different city, and they're convinced that it's going to be great.
That's what they always say. Tonight at the bottom of the hour, right after this program, a special edition here on the Score Television Network, a look back at the history of the Montreal Expos franchise from 1969 to today. You don't want to miss it. And when that is over, the game tonight, the last ever game in Montreal at the Big O, Expos and the Marlins. First pitch just after 7 o'clock. We're on the air right at 7. Today's Score poll question is, how do you feel about the Expos leaving Montreal? Good riddance, you're heartbroken, or you really don't care? The responses are really fluctuating as far as this question is concerned today. And please feel free to text message us your favorite all-time Expos moment or memory. We're giving away an Expos uniform and some binoculars for the, I guess, best message or moment as far as the Expos are concerned. So text message us right here at the Score. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more baseball, this time action on the field. The Yankees were taking on that guy, Johan Santana, and the Minnesota Twins. Possibly a playoff preview, and Austin Kern.
While Robinson's impact changed the game forever, it took more than 2 decades before Montreal made its major league mark. On May 27, 1968, the city of Montreal edged out Buffalo to join San Diego as the newest additions to the National League. Led by local distillery magnate Charles Bronfman as majority owner and former Major League Baseball executive John McHale as president and CEO, the team would begin play the following year. They would hire Jim Fanning as the general manager and opt to name the team after the World Fair, Expo 67, instead of many people's favorites, the Voyageurs or Nationals. The tiny Jerry Park would be home for the new franchise that would scramble to get ready for opening day 1969.
When I joined the ball club, John McHale, who was the president of the team, said, I'm not going to offer you a contract because I don't know what's going to happen after this year. He said, all I know is we're going to play in Montreal this year and hopefully get this off to a good start.
We really had some fun that first spring in 1969 and putting that club together and wondering if we were going to, what was going to happen and are we going to have a ballpark? Is it going to get done?
We'd like to wish the city of Montreal and the Expos good luck and more chance.
On April 8, 1969, the Montreal Expos were born. An 11-10 win over the eventual world champion Mets had the New York tabloids pondering how this could happen.
The Canadian national anthem was played first. And that's the first time it really hit me that, man, this is really a wonderful, fantastic day. And that's when all this stuff started to happen. And every time I talk about it since, I have that same feeling.
Rusty Staub would hit his first of 29 homers that day and find a way into the hearts of Expo fans forever as the Grand Orange became the team's first star. When they made their way home to Montreal, a love affair between the city and the ball club was launched. 5,000 fans showed up to greet them at the airport upon arrival, and another 150,000 welcomed the Expos at a parade to celebrate Major League Baseball's beginnings in Canada. With renovations still not complete, more than 29,000 fans would pack into Jerry Park on April 14th to witness that historic game. The first Major League Baseball game played outside of the USA would be won by the Expos 8-7.
Gorgeous day. Must have been in the 70s. It felt to me like it was in the 80s. And again, a wild game. We got behind so far, and all of a sudden, Mac Jones hits a home run, and somebody else hits one, and that was a high-scoring game as well. But we won.
3 days after winning their home opener, fans would be treated to Bill Stoneman spinning the franchise's first no-hitter. The team would end up losing 110 games that year, including a 20-game losing streak. But fans still flocked to Jerry Park. Over 1.2 million showed up that inaugural season, good for 5th best in the National League.
You didn't have to sit in the front 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 rows. You could be sitting in the back rows at Jerry Park, and you're still close to the field and close to the action. People were involved. They were really involved.
The following year, the Expos won 73 games and attracted more than 1.4 million fans, but by 1976, the team was a disaster on the field and at the box office. And they lost 107 games and drew less than 650,000 fans. But better times were on the horizon. A new stadium was set to open, and an exciting young nucleus of players were ready to explode onto the scene.
The pitch. There's a fly ball to left field. Terry Francona's under it. He's got it. And the Expos have finally done it. Look out, Philadelphia. The Expos are coming. The Montreal Expos are in the playoffs.
This program on The Score brought to you by Tim Hortons' new chicken and roasted red pepper sandwich.
My chicken sandwich is in there. It's the new one from Tim Hortons. You know, with the roasted red peppers.
Nothing else has the taste of Tim Hortons' new chicken and roasted red pepper sandwich. Prepared hot and fresh with our roasted red pepper sauce on a toasted multigrain bun. Try it in a combo.
Thanks, man. I'll pull you out if you give me half.
When you get nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, even diarrhea. Hey, there's Pepto-Bismol. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Yay, Pepto-Bismol!
For 5 different stomach problems, Pink does more than you think.
I thought you were supposed to eat the red ones last. Well, the Smarties people have been saying that for years. But yesterday I tried eating them first. And? You know Vanessa from finance? Oh, yeah. This morning, she walked by my office. And? She never walks by my office.
Hello!
We interrupt this commercial to tell you that we've taken Smarties, surrounded them with milk chocolate, and created something unbelievably unique. Introducing the new Smarties bar, available in white and milk chocolate. Just try to eat the red ones last.
We know how we sometimes hurt the people we love without realizing it at the time. We're Alcoholics Anonymous. If your drinking is affecting your life and family, look us up. We're in the phone book and on the web.
Friday Night Lights will take you closer to the game than you've ever been before.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about!
On October 8th comes one of the greatest sports stories of all time. Friday Night Lights at theaters Friday, October 8th.
Swiss Chalet has some tips for rib lovers. New mesquite seasoned back rib tips, served with your favorite rotisserie chicken. So come in to Swiss Chalet and let us tip you for a change.
Service?
Come in.
Gesundheit. NyQuil. Cold relief. Feel better. You sleep. Sleep like lumber.
What?
Like the infant.
Oh.
Sleep like home. Good night.
NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so you can get the relief you need to sleep and feel better medicine. Also try new and improved liquid caps.
Everyone wants your money. Someone's hand is always in your pocket. Still, you rescue a few dollars and put your savings in a bank beyond their reach. But are they? Most banks pay almost no interest and shrink your savings with service charges. One more hand in your pocket. ING Direct pays high interest on every dollar you save and never makes you pay a service charge. Your savings grow. Call. Save your money.
Coming up tonight on The Score, the Marlins travel to Montreal to meet the Expos at the Big O. Action starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's right here on The Score. Today, the Olympic Stadium stands as a constant reminder to the costly 1976 Games. But on April 15th, 1977, more than 57,000 fans flocked to the Big O for the first game and to witness the emergence of one of baseball's best young teams.
Here's the 2-2 to Carter. A swing and a ball driven to right center. Base hit. Dawson is home. The Expos lead 5-4 as Carter fought it off and punched it into right center.
The Expos were led into their new stadium by Gary Carter, who would take over the full-time catching role, and the 1977 Rookie of the Year, Andre Dawson. As the 70s came to a close, Warren Cromartie, Ellis Valentine, Steve Rogers would be joined by speedsters Ron LaFleur and Rodney Scott to help form the nucleus of a team ready to compete with the National League's elite. A 95-65 record in 1979 left them 2 games short of a playoff berth. And then in 1980, they stumbled out of the gate with a 9-14 start and were eventually edged out on the final day of the season by the Phillies.
Throughout those years, when you get that opportunity to take it to that next level, it can be a hit or a miss, and for us, we just missed out.
The following year, Tim Raines would replace LaFleur and set a Major League rookie record for stolen bases, and on May 10th, Charlie Lee would be center stage.
A swing and a fly ball to center. Dawson is under it. He's got it. Charlie Lee has pitched a no-hit, no-run ball game.
A player's strike would interrupt the season from mid-June to the end of July, but upon returning for the Midsummer Classic, Gary Carter would steal the show, hitting 2 home runs on his way to winning All-Star Game MVP, and Jim Fanning would take over managerial duties from Dick Williams. The Expos appeared to have all the pieces in place to make their first postseason. On the second last day of the season, the Expos would make history.
The pitch. There's a fly ball to left field. Terry Francona's under it. He's got it. And the Expos have finally done it. Look out, Philadelphia. The Expos are coming.
I tell you, it was really exciting. It's been a long time since we've been waiting for this, baby. 3 years, and now 3's the charm, so we're going to go.
We won that ball game that day, and that group of players absolutely went berserk. They were all over the field. The raucous clubhouse that night after the game, it was a day game after that game, and it was a fantastic day.
Montreal would go 30-23 in the second half of the season to set up a 5-game series with the Phillies to determine Eastern supremacy.
I think one of the things about that Philly team is that, they battled us and battled us and battled us, and like you said, they edged us out that one year, and then this year we had that chance to, to take it to them, but they kept coming back, and I think one of the things that was a big builder for us is that we did win that series, and we went on, and so I think that gave us a lot of confidence going into the series against LA. The two hookups with Rogers and Carlton were just classic pitching duels. I mean, classic. And they were very low-scoring games, and boy, that was exciting. That was a very exciting time to beat the best.
Next up would be the Dodgers in the NLCS. In the deciding Game 5, the two teams would battle through 8 innings tied at 1. In the 9th, Fanning brought in ace and Game 3 starter Steve Rogers to replace Ray Burris.
We got rained out on a Monday after having played 4 games. We'd won 2 and the Dodgers had won 2. And Steve Rogers came to Galen Cisco, who was a pitching coach, and I, after the rain out, and said, look, today is my day to throw. I didn't throw, and I'm ready to pitch tomorrow if you need me. And I said, we'll talk about it.
You know, you had Jeff Reardon, who's our closer, and they opted to go to Steve. Well, you know, talking about one of the best pitchers, you know, in the league, and let's put our best out there, and, you know, it just didn't work out that way.
Dawson chasing back. Still on the run. Trouble at the fence. Home run Monday. 2-1 Dodgers. A chopper to the right side. Lopes. And the Dodgers are the National League champions.
Wow, that was tough. And it was tough for me. When you lose a game 2-1, every manager looks at what he did and didn't do. And of course, I've beat up on myself some.
It was disappointing, obviously. That was my first year, rookie year, and I thought as close as we got. So I hadn't been around that long, or very long, and just figured this is the way it's going to be every year.
It was definitely when you're looking at possibly going to the World Series or going home, it wasn't a very, very happy moment for us.
After the game was over, myself and Dawson and Pro Marty and a few other guys just sat on the bench, just thinking what could have. You know, it was a sad day. It was a sad moment, you know, at the time.
Blue Monday, as it would be forever known, was the closest the Expos would get to a World Series berth. When they returned the following spring, the nucleus of the team remained intact, but clubhouse discontent and outfield problems would contribute to a third-place finish.
And that was a year of a lot of internal turmoil. That was a year of drugs, Timmy Raines having his problem. A healthy Timmy Raines wins the 6 more games. And you can look at his stats and see where he hit 300. But boy, if we'd have had a healthy Timmy Raines, he makes the difference.
You know, I was 20, turning 21, and, you know, as a young player coming up, trying to get used to your surroundings and not knowing which direction to go, a lot of times you choose the wrong direction, and I actually did that.
And it finally happened that Tim Raines called me and said he couldn't come to the ballpark on one night. And then I sent our club doctor and our traveling secretary out to his place, and he was really hurting. And it was not long after that we sent him to the Betty Ford place.
It made me mature, you know, a lot sooner than maybe I wanted to, but I had to, and it made me a better player and a better person.
The team would slowly be dismantled. Fanning would be replaced midway through the 1984 season, and Carter would be dealt to the Mets that offseason. After 13 years, Steve Rogers won just 2 games in 1985 and called it a career. Andre Dawson was allowed to walk away as a free agent following the 1986 season.
I'm disappointed that we didn't get to where we thought we should have, and that was winning a World Series championship, but I have a lot of great memories from early 80s.
In the early years after I left, and I saw the way things were going, I really hurt. I hurt inside bad. I mean, really, really bad.
I think the sad thing is that we never got to the point where we wanted to get to, and that was to be world champions.
Despite losing the nucleus of the 1981 team, the Expos remained competitive. Hubie Brooks, who was acquired in the Carter trade, joined Andres Galarraga and holdovers Tim Raines and Tim Wallach to lead Montreal to a 91-win season in 1987, a year they attracted more than 1.8 million fans. But as the decade came to a close, there were dark days ahead.
There was a full realization that Bronfman and Webster's, all these people have gone, and new people are not trying to run this thing on a shoestring.
This program on The Score brought to you by Kia. backed by Canada's best ownership coverage.
The wait is over. It's Kia's Drive More Clear Out, our biggest sales event of the year, with unbeatable deals like 0% purchase financing for 72 months or up to $2,000 cash back, or choose great low lease rates. All backed by Canada's best ownership coverage, including free oil changes for life. These deals won't last, so hurry into your local Kia dealer today.
Ramada Canada announces trip rewards with more places to earn points and more ways to redeem them. It's as easy as Ramada Canada, a very good place to be.
How many beers have you had already?
We know how hard it is to admit that you've got a problem. We know how we sometimes hurt the people we love without realizing it at the time. We're Alcoholics Anonymous. If your drinking is affecting your life and family, look us up. We're in the phone book and on the web.
Give your style some pow with Herbal Essences styling products. Infused with pansies, rose hips, or passion flower. Use Herbal Essences hairspray to keep the twirl in your curl. Extra hold mousse for chunks with spunk. Get any look you want, except that one. Herbal Essences styling products. Style with pow.
What's your mix?
I sit all day.
My butt planted.
Feet on the ground, watching a screen.
Day in, day out.
I sit.
Sitting on a chair.
Parked.
But here.
Here. I will not. Cannot sit.
Friday Night Lights will take you closer to the game than you've ever been before.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about!
On October 8th comes one of the greatest sports stories of all time. Friday Night Lights at theaters Friday, October 8th.
Kurt Angle gave The Big Show a new look he would never forget.
Oh my God!
Has Kurt just sealed his fate? WWE SmackDown, Thursday nights on The Score.
Closed captioning brought to you by Nicoderm. Only Nicoderm has patented smart dose technology. While attendance at the Big O has suffered in recent years, in the 1980s the team averaged more than 1.9 million fans per season, and the decade would end with one final push to the playoffs. On May 25th, 1989, the Montreal Expos were 23-23 in the midst of the NL East race when they made a blockbuster trade for lefty Mark Langston. Going to Seattle was a package of young players that included Randy Johnson. Langston would go 12-9 with Montreal, but the team could do no better than finish 500, 6 games back of the New York Mets. Off the field, a major change was about to take place in the front office, as original owner Charles Bronfman was looking to sell the team.
He got very discouraged with the players. He became very discouraged with not winning. And finally, he said, there's got to be other things that I want to do.
The first thing that went through everybody's mind is, my God, the richest man in the country, and arguably the country's biggest baseball fan, doesn't want to own the Montreal Expos. I mean, the first thing you look at is, okay, what's wrong here?
On June 13th, 1991, the Expos were sold to the city of Montreal, and a group of 13 private investors headed by Claude Brochu. The ownership uncertainty caused the team to draw under 1 million fans for the first time in 15 years.
And now the Expos went into a hand-to-mouth existence under Claude Brochu and the limited partnership. And yeah, I mean, there was no doubt then that, you know, the golden era of baseball in Montreal, over.
I think that's where things started to go to the point where we're at now.
On the field, despite losing 90 games, there was still reason for optimism. A little over a month after Brochu's group took over, Dennis Martinez made history.
1-2 pitch. In the air. Center field. Grissom. El Presidente. El Perfecto.
When longtime organization man Felipe Alou took over the team 37 games into the 1992 season, he produced results with a new group of young emerging stars.
They had just such a good nucleus of just talented, young, exciting players. Larry Walker, of course, Will Cordero was coming up. And you could really see that there was a core being established. And it was really just a question of, you know, what year would that core arrive in the scene.
The first couple of weeks, you know, it was so stressful for me because I wanted to win every game. You know, I wanted my dad to do well, and I was putting pressure on myself, putting pressure on the other guys. We gotta win, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, became natural. You know, us playing well, us winning. All of a sudden, he did a great job.
The team would go 70-55 after Alou took over in '92, a sign of what was about to come. They won 94 games the following year and battled the Phillies for the Eastern Division title up until the final week of that season.
Looking back, and I've often thought this now, 94, we knew there was going to be a labor stoppage. What would have happened if the Expos had won in 93, had actually managed to get over that last hurdle and get past the Phillies in 93?
1994 was supposed to be the culmination of their rebuilding. They were a young, star-studded team ready to compete for a championship.
Earlier this year, I'm in San Diego, and I'm talking to Bruce Bochy, the Padres manager, and we're doing an interview, and at the end he says, "You used to be in Montreal, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "God, I got to tell you, that 94 team, that's the best team I've ever seen." And it still comes up. You still hear people say that.
Like a lot of things in life, you anticipate something and fear that it's coming, hope that it isn't. And when the day is here, there's an incredible amount of sadness.
The apex, the culmination of their building plan is 1994 when baseball goes on strike. You know, it always seemed that the Expos were sort of one step behind what was going on in terms of the timing.
But definitely, you know, it really hurt not to have the chance to go to the playoff and to find out how good we really were.
When baseball returned the following year, the team was a shadow of the one who had last taken to the field. Grissom was dealt to Atlanta, Ken Hill to St. Louis, John Wetland joined the Yankees, and Larry Walker left as a free agent.
I remember the first couple of months was really hard on me, you know, see Larry gone, Wetland gone, Kenny Hill gone, Marquise gone. We were getting beat by everybody, the team that we used to beat all the time the year before.
People forget that Kevin Malone essentially had 72 hours to strip the guts out of the best team in baseball. And he couldn't be picky, and everybody in baseball knew that.
It was quite a punch in the stomach to have to take, and obviously, in suggesting that with those four names, you're basically starting over, which is what we did.
That, for me, was closure. And that's when I really lost my feel for the Montreal Expos.
In the subsequent years, the team continued to develop good young talent, but off the field, talk of the need for a new downtown ballpark dominated. By 1998, Claude Brochu had given up in his attempts to land the new stadium and announced he was willing to sell his shares in the team. A year later, New York art dealer Jeffrey Loria was introduced as chairman, CEO, and managing general partner. Unfortunately, the changes would not result in an increase in attendance. The Expos would fail to draw 1 million fans in a season between 1998 and 2002, On the field, the decade of the 90s still witnessed the emergence of some great young players, and the team even contended for a playoff spot in 1996. But despite the solid player development, the roster was constantly turned over, and in 2001, the one link to past success, Felipe Alou, was fired.
Nobody knew what was going to happen. You know, we're supposed to get a new stadium. They were supposed to leave. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and I rather, you know, he showed some loyalty to the team and stay here. And unfortunately, they didn't show any loyalty to him.
3 different times I saw it get torn down, only to try to build it back up again to make it as representative as possible. And we did a terrific job of that. But really, my experience from 95 through 98 was exactly that.
When you see that over the last 5-year period, I mean, you know, everybody else says, yeah, we're a farm team, or the Expos are a farm team for the rest of everybody else, because, you know, they can't keep these players, and they have them, and they mature them, or they trade for them, or whatever the 5-year span was, 6-year span, and then they unload them, and it's like I said, it's tough to repeat that and get that kind of talent throughout, and talent out there now is getting a little scarcer.
3 seasons ago, Jeffrey Loria moved to Florida and took over the ownership of the Marlins. In South Florida, he would find the World Series glory that's always eluded the Expos. For the last 3 seasons, the team has played in limbo while operating under the guidance of Major League Baseball.
Jeffrey Loria was nobody's first choice to run the Expos. At any point in this whole procedure, Stephen Bronfman or anybody could have bought majority control in the Expos for $20 million Canadian. He never stepped up and did it.
Baseball once flourished in Montreal. It was an era when spring blossomed with hope for fall success. It was a time when heroes were made and hearts would be broken. It's a baseball legacy born with a dream, played out with unfulfilled promise.
My greatest thrills in baseball came with the Montreal Expos. For a lot of us, not just me.
This once proud franchise appears to be headed to Washington, D.C. for the start of the 2005 season. And after 36 years of baseball in Montreal, they get set to play what might be their final home game tonight. And that is next on The Score.
Underneath the Teflon sky in Montreal's Olympic Stadium, an outpouring of emotion from fans who have entered this building since 1977 to watch National League Baseball, and before that, inside of Jerry Park, where the Expos got their start in 1969. Fans have come in droves here tonight to give their team a send-off. One final send-off from Montreal. Hello, everyone. Sam Cosentino along a little later with Rance Mullinex. And if you have not already heard the official announcement made this afternoon, as Montreal Expos President Tony Tavares made the announcement that everyone thought he was going to make, that the Montreal Expos franchise will be relocated to Washington for the start of the 2005 season. For more on that story, let's get you downstairs to Ryan Payton.
Joined now by Tony Tavares, the president of the Montreal Expos. You and I sat here at the exact place back on Friday. At the time, you said to me the team is about as close as it could be to relocating. We now know that it's official. They're going to Washington, D.C. Just tell us how you felt at that time that you knew they're not coming back.
You know, it was an exceptionally tough day here. I've grown attached
to the staff here. They've done a wonderful job under very difficult circumstances. Many of the Canadian people here, almost all of them in fact, cannot come to Washington, D.C. with the team. And so they know that this is the end of the road. I feel very, very badly for them. I feel badly for the fans here in Montreal and their inability to continue to see baseball. And, you know, life is interesting because the sun goes down here in Montreal and rises in Washington. So for all the people that have not seen baseball in Washington since 1971, they get an opportunity now to have it return. And, you know, maybe this comes full circle here in Montreal at some point in the future as well.
Let me pick up on that point. Sports is for pleasure. You play the game because you love the game, but this is a reminder to me anyway that sports is a business, and Major League Baseball is a business. On a business side of things, this is a good move, isn't it, for this franchise?
Yeah, I mean, we're generating approximately $6.5 million of local revenue, equivalent to U.S. revenue. And bottom line, in Washington, you're going to do a minimum, even in an interim situation, at 10 times that. So it ends up being a good business deal. It means that the team can be more competitive because you can put more money into it. So, you know, from a business perspective, this is easy. But it's tough to separate business from emotion on a day like today.
Are you surprised, though, that they announced this decision right now because there's still no ownership group in Washington waiting for this team? It's still owned by Major League Baseball?
No, you know, it's almost like a Rubik's Cube here. I mean, it's very complex. You had to get your funding for a new stadium in place. You had to get that voted on this year. So they had to push the envelope on that. You know, the relocation committee did a wonderful job in negotiating a deal that I think is fair to both parties in Washington. And bottom line, I think what's going to happen now is there's going to be an auction process for a new owner, and I think it placed baseball in the position of getting maximum value for the franchise.
We've heard that the Expos were on the move for a good couple of years now. They avoided that for some time, avoided this contraction thing. Was there at any point this year when 2004 began that you thought, you know what, we're not going to get through this year in Montreal?
No, you know, I always felt we'd get through. I mean, it's the issue for me is that, yeah, like I said, it's just an exceptionally tough day today. You know, when you walk in the office, I was greeted by people crying, and that's awfully tough.
That kind of really puts it into perspective. One last thing before I let you go. Tonight they're expecting 30,000 people. That'd be fantastic. 33 years ago tomorrow night, that was the Senators' last game in Washington at home. A couple of people went on the field in the ninth. Do you expect something like that to happen tonight?
No, I really don't. I mean, we're in a position today where we prepared for the worst and expect the best, okay? And that's what you do in this business. But, you know, I think Montreal is, generally speaking, very respectful. You know, is there that odd idiot that's going to try and make a statement? Of course. But I don't think in mass. I think this group of people, this crowd here, has too much class to do that.
Well, it's a sad day indeed, but let's celebrate one final home game tonight. Thanks for this.
My pleasure.
All right, Tony Tavares.
Well, I'm joined now by Rance Mullinax, and you and I were at the press conference today, and the mood was very chilling there.
Yes, well, a very difficult and sad day here in Montreal, and you have to really feel for the employees here with the Expos. They've done a great job under very difficult circumstances, and I feel very sad for the fans, not only here in Montreal, but throughout all of Canada.
Well, Rance, we've heard enough about the off-field stuff. Let's do everything baseball for the next 2.5, 3 hours. We're back with the first pitch after this.
A 15,000-pound trailer is a lot of weight to tow, which is why we gave the new Ford Super Duty the only integrated trailer brake controller. Because a 15,000-pound trailer is a lot of weight to stop. The new Ford Super Duty, we keep thinking about tough. Because we want you to drive a Ford.
Ebert and Roper give 2 thumbs up to the movie event of the fall. It's spectacular, magnificent, one of the year's best films.
Keep your eyes on me, okay?
Ladder 49 starts Friday.
Expos fans settling in their seats. The American National Anthem played to the tune of Everyone Here at Olympic Stadium clapping and trying to drown the sound out. The Canadian national anthem played. A lot more silence in the building, but you really get a feeling for the mood from the fans here for the first time that we have not seen with all the media stuff, Rance, we saw this afternoon.
Well, and I think that's what the story's really all about. It's what the effect that this move has on the fans here in Montreal, and as I mentioned earlier, throughout all of Canada. And I think they expressed that during the anthems.
And they did, and one thing they did do before this game, the very best team in baseball in 1994 was that 94 Expos team that features the likes of Larry Walker, Moises Alou, Felipe Alou as the manager, Gil Heredia, Ken Hill, Tim Scott on hand as they unveiled a banner in left center field here at Olympic Stadium to honor that team. And on August 12th, the season went all for naught. The World Series canceled that year because of the players' strike. So very emotion-filled afternoon, which has turned into evening here in Montreal. We're getting ready for the first pitch. Carl Pavano getting the start for the Florida Marlins, a former Expo, so a little irony in that as well. But we have shown you signs all game long talking about the celebration of 36 years of National League Baseball. There have also been signs here in the crowd, Rance, that we can't show you.
Well, there have been. There's been a few that we couldn't go on record with, but here again, it's just back to the fans expressing how they feel about this move. And it's very unfortunate because when you get right down to it, the bottom line is the fans are the ones that always suffer.
And indeed, they will be on their feet here tonight to cheer on the Expos for one last time. Sonny Kim making his way out to the mound, as are the rest of the Montreal Expos right now, getting prepared for the final home game in Montreal Expos history. The starting pitcher for Montreal is none other than Sonny Kim, who we had the opportunity to call the game on Friday night against the Philadelphia Phillies. The longest outing of his career. He went 8 2/3, allowing 1 earned run. Couldn't close it off. A career-high 8 strikeouts before giving way to the pen. And Rance, when Kim is on, he's very effective.
Yes, he is. Good hard sinker and slider. Key for him is, here again, location. Keep the ball down in the strike zone. Coming off a great start last Friday. Came within that 1 out of pitching a shutout against the Philadelphia Phillies, a ball club which swings the bat very, very well. And in the starting role, Sonny Kim has been outstanding. In 6 starts, he's given up 8 earned runs, and that's outstanding.
And you want to talk about the success he had earlier, winning the Expos Player of the Month in April, working out of the pen. The lineup he will face tonight for the Florida Marlins, and it all starts at the top with Juan Pierre, currently in a 7-game hitting streak. Jeff Conine, who you see to the right of your screen, it is 14th home run of the year last night. Chris Aguila also hit a home run in that game. He will hit behind Conine, rewarded for his efforts last night with a couple of base hits, getting the start in right field. Castillo Gonzalez and, of course, the pitcher Pavano will hit in the 9-hole for Jack McKeon's Florida Marlins. Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin they call him. The 1997 World Series, an original Marlin when the team came into the league as an expansion team in 1993, and Mr. Marlin will be looked on tonight to try and get the sweep for the Florida Marlins. They've won the first 2 games of this series, winning on Monday night by a 4-1 count, and last night here on the score by a 5-2 count. So Juan Pierre in a 7-game hit streak. Step in from the left side. Pierre has started each of the 2 games of this series with a base hit. And he really sets the table for McKeon's Marlins at the top of the order. Kim ready to work. Batista right down Pierre's throat. First pitch shows bunt. He elects to take the pitch. And the first pitch on the night is a called strike.
Well, a big key tonight for Sonny Kim will be to keep Juan Pierre and Paulo Duca off base.
The 0-1 from Kim. That misses up and away.
It's always a little easier to pitch to Miguel Cabrera, Mike Lowell, and Jeff Conine with nobody on base.
Never easy to pitch to those guys, and especially in situations where they got the ribbies waiting out there for them. They have proven that all series long as Pierre rips this ball foul into the right field seats. Nice crowd on hand here tonight. In fact, they've opened the upper deck for some of the fans to enjoy things from a little higher view here at Olympic Stadium, and you can see the crowds of people actually above us here in our broadcast booth location. wanting to get one last taste of baseball here in Montreal. The 1-2 from Kim, slashed foul this time to the left side. And those will be souvenirs that the fans will be very glad to take home as part of the memories here on this final night. Montreal, a record of 65 and 93 entering play tonight. 1-2 in there, and Kim gets Pierre looking. Their starting defense for the Expos looks like this. At the corners, Tony Batista plays third. Brad Wilkerson is over at first base. The double play combination looks like this. Meiser Asturis is the shortstop. Brendan Harris continuing to play, making his 5th consecutive start at second base for the injured Jamie Carroll. In the outfield from left to right, it's Termel Sledge, Juan Rivera, and the Expos minor league player of the year, Ryan Church. One down in the inning for Paul LaDuca. First pitch up and in. One of the things, Rance, I noticed about Kim working in his game Friday night against Philadelphia, the ability to really locate the fastball. I think that's key for any pitcher, but that was the key to Kim's success on Friday night. 1-0. Slashed at by LaDuca. Right up here underneath the press box. We talked about Kim, the longest outing of his career, 8 2/3. He had 8 strikeouts in that game as well. Also a career high, threw 93 pitches, but just couldn't get that final out. It killed Frank Robinson to have to come out and yank Kim from the game, but that was the best thing at that time. And Kim got a standing ovation from the crowd in the house here at Olympic Stadium. LaDuca fouls off that pitch. Count 1-2.
Well, back to Sonny Kim, you've mentioned that his location has been excellent. It was Friday night, and so far starting out this evening, his location's been very good. You know, Randy St. Clair, I didn't realize, but Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach for the Montreal Expos, feels like Sonny Kim has one of the best arms on the staff.
Kim works that pitch low and away, a breaking ball that hits the dirt. LaDuca wants a new one, and he'll get it.
Oftentimes, I think the tendency is to think of a pitcher that is primarily sinker slider to not be one that's overpowering, but Sonny Kim can definitely be overpowering at times.
Sneak that fastball in there with great velocity. The 2-2 on its way from Kim. Hit to right field. Church giving chase into the corner on the run and makes the catch while meeting the wall at the same time. Good running catch there by the left-handed Ryan Church. 2 down in the inning.
Well, Ryan Church, right-hander, hits the ball to right field. It's going to be slicing away from you, and he has to contend with the wall down there, but a nice job to get over there, stay with it, and make the catch. Here again, these big league outfielders sometimes make it look easy, but that was a fairly difficult play.
Well, Rance, he was the Expos minor league player of the year, recognized more for his offensive abilities, but they're putting the defense on display as Miguel Cabrera steps in. How'd you like to have his skills at the age of 21?
At any age, I'd like to have his skills. I often wonder what it's like to play baseball with that type of ability just for one day, much less a career.
Unbelievable, the numbers Cabrera has put up in a short time. And at that age, it just seems so hard for so many guys to be able to pick up the game of baseball, to deal with the mental aspect of it. But Cabrera has seemingly done all that while putting up good numbers along the way.
Well, sometimes some players are just blessed with so much ability that it compensates for lack of knowledge. And of course, that's not to say that he'll eventually, as he matures and the more that he plays, he's going to learn more about how to play the game of baseball and just get better because of that. But here's a young man that at the tender age of 21 or 22 has exceeded 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, and 100 runs scored. And he's in some very, very good company. Only a handful in the history of the game of baseball have done that.
Well, if you look at this list of gentlemen who have made this feat happen under the age of 22, that is 30 or more homers, 100 or more RBIs, and 100 or more runs scored. And with 2 more runs, Cabrera will be the 8th player on that list in the history of Major League Baseball. Hit on the ground, left side, 2-hopper to Batista. Long throw over to first, stretch by Wilkerson, and the inning is over. So Sonny Kim continues the fine pitching he showed us on Friday night, going 1-2-3 in the top half.
This program on The Score brought to you by Subway. Good, so you don't always have to be. Subway, eat fresh.
Yeah! Go to the Grey Cup!
Why play your way to the Grey Cup when Subway Restaurants is giving away 5 trips to the big game? Come in, then enter online. Plus, with any Lay's potato chip purchase, you get another chance to win from Subway.
Sports Illustrated has called it one of the greatest sports stories of all time. On October 8th, the best-selling book becomes a major motion picture event from the producer of 8 Mile. Friday Night Lights at theaters Friday, October 8th.
The 2005 Echo hatchback. What goes in the hatch is up to you. Take advantage of low financing now at your Toyota dealer.
Welcome back to the Big O. No stranger to Olympic Stadium. Carl Pavano getting the start for the Florida Marlins, a record of 17-8, an ERA 3.05, making his 4th attempt at becoming the most single-season winningest pitcher in Marlins history.
Yes, going after his 18th win tonight. However, here at Olympic Stadium, he has a career mark of 17-16 with a 4.07 ERA, and he'll be facing a good young hitting ball club tonight, so not an easy task for him tonight to pick up that 18th win.
And you can bet the young Expos hitters will come out swinging in the hopes of picking up a win here in tonight's final home game. The leadoff hitter for the Expos is Brad Wilkerson. You see the home runs, 31 of them. Only Henry Rodriguez has more home runs from the left side of the plate in Expos history. He belted 36 back in 1996. Wilkerson, a very patient hitter, awaits the 0-1. That paints the black in the outside corner, and Pavano's up 0-2. Rusty Staub also on the list. Le Grand L'Orange, absolutely loved here by Expos fans. Of course, moving on to the New York Mets later in his career, 30 home runs. And Wilkerson, not a home run, but it's a base hit into center field to kick things off for Montreal here in the bottom half of the first inning. The rest of the Expos order looks like this. The young, exciting shortstop Meister Asturias hits second. Tony Batista with his 32 home runs and 110 RBIs hits in the 3-hole. Sledge, Rivera, and Church, and then it's Diaz, Harris, and of course Sonny Kim, who also had a couple of hits in that 8 2/3 inning performance against Philadelphia on Friday night. So Wilkerson is aboard with a base hit to left center. Asturias, first pitch swinging, hit to the left side. Cabrera barely had to move, makes the catch, 1 down. Defensively for the Florida Marlins, it looks like this at the corners. A couple of veterans, Mike Lowell and Jeff Conan. Up the middle, what the Marlins are hoping will be a double play tandem of Gold Glove caliber. Alex Gonzalez at shortstop, Luis Castillo, the reigning Gold Glove winner at second base, will play there tonight. From left to right in the outfield, it's Cabrera, Juan Pierre, and Chris Aguila, the exciting young rookie getting the start for Jack McKeon's Marlins in right field tonight. So with 1 out, Tony Batista steps in. Wilkerson, checked by Pavano over at first.
And we can go back to that last at bat by Meister Izaturis. That's where his inexperience shows up a little bit. In that second spot with speed at first base and Brad Wilkerson, you want to take at least till you get 1 strike and give him the opportunity to run.
First pitch to Batista in there for a strike.
And that's something that will just come with playing time and learning those situations and understanding what your job is in that number 2 slot in the lineup.
Ultimately, your job is to get that guy to second base so that there's a runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Asturias unable to do that on that occasion. So Batista will try and atone for that mistake. Good high ball hitter, good mistake pitch hitter is Batista. A lot of people were wondering at the start of the year if that was a wise investment to go out and sign Batista, but he has put up the power numbers that he has put up over the last 5 years, in which he has averaged 31 home runs, 99 runs batted in.
Well, you can see this last pitch here, trying to run the ball in on Tony's hands, just a little too much inside. But Tony primarily, as you mentioned, he is a power hitter and primarily looks for the ball middle in. I think he likes the ball up a little bit better than he does down.
Wilkerson takes his lead. Batista hit on the ground to second. Castilla. Gonzalez, that's one. Over to first in time for the double play. So after giving up a leadoff base hit, fly out to the left, and then a double play to get out of the inning.
On DVD today.
I'm gonna fix this town.
We'll see about that. Walking Tall delivers.
Let's go.
Rock solid action. The Rock. Walking Tall on DVD today.
A 15,000-pound trailer is a lot of weight to tow, which is why we gave the new Ford Super Duty the only integrated trailer brake controller. Because a 15,000-pound trailer is a lot of weight to stop. The new Ford Super Duty, we keep thinking about tough. Because we want you to drive a Ford.
Swiss Chalet has some tips for rib lovers. New mesquite seasoned back rib tips, served with your favorite rotisserie chicken. So come in to Swiss Chalet and let us tip you for a change.
Friday Night Lights will take you closer to the game than you've ever been before.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about!
On October 8th comes one of the greatest sports stories of all time. Friday Night Lights at theaters Friday, October 8th.
Race night on The Score brings you the best in harness racing. Catch all the wire-to-wire action every Monday night starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, only on The Score.
Well, Rance, Frank Robinson was a guy who played his entire career very hard. At the end of last inning, Brad Wilkerson, another one of those hard players, goes in hard to second base, upsetting Alex Gonzalez.
Well, he did. It's just a good aggressive slide, which he's entitled to do. And I don't understand why Alex Gonzalez, the shortstop, is upset there. It was nothing dirty about that slide. He just went in there hard trying to break up the double play.
You gotta love the play of Brad Wilkerson. He is one guy who plays the game the right way and has his entire three-year career here in Montreal. Mike Lowell leading it off for the Marlins here in the top of the second. Swings at the first pitch. It's a foul ball. Keep an eye on that and see if anything further develops. Of course, at some point, Castillo or Gonzalez may get to first base to greet Wilkerson when they get there. 0-1 to Kim, hit on the ground and just foul before the bag. Batista playing very deep over there at third base.
Well, oftentimes in the middle, a middle infielder occasionally will overreact a little bit, and once you get back into the dugout, you settle down and you look back and you reflect back on the play and you realize, you know, he was just coming in there hard. There was nothing dirty. He wasn't trying to hurt me, and it's forgotten.
The 0-2 to Lowell. Waste pitch from Kim, high and out of the zone.
But Brad Wilkerson, hard-nosed player, and I don't know, you might want to think twice before you said something to him down there at first base. You're awfully close at that point.
Lowell reaches for this pitch, a bounder. The shortstop Asturis over to first. Let's get you back to the Score Studios for the sports update. Here's Jim Van Boulis.
Thanks, Sammy. Reds Cubs from Wrigley Field tied at 2's top 12. Austin Kearns, that is long gone. To deep right center field, his 8th of the season, a 2-run shot. 4-3 Cincinnati would come out the victor in this one. Chicago now losers of 4 of 5. Slowly, actually very quickly, losing their position atop the National League wild card. Let's get you back to Montreal.
All right, thanks very much, Jimmy Van Boot. Second hitter in the inning for the Marlins is Jeff Conine. Conine, who hit his 14th home run of the year last night. 80 runs batted in on the season. Has been a little more adept at driving in runs in the second half than he was the first half. It's a wild hack at this pitch and fouls it straight back. Conine putting his power on display. That pitch absolutely ripped into the stands. It went for his 14th off John Rauch.
Well, Jeff Conine, a veteran of many years of major league play, and is a professional hitter. He really has an idea of what he wants to do at the plate. And when you make a mistake to him, he can make you pay for it. Been an outstanding hitter for a number of years.
1-2 on its way, and that breaking ball misses low and away.
Well, Sonny Kim started in early in the count going hard, now trying to go away to finish Conine off. Just missed off the corner. But as we talked about so far tonight, he's been pinpoint with his command.
Fans on their feet, slapping the seats. The 2-2. Right side and foul. Talked about Conine. One of the things a lot of people don't know about Jeff Conine, he and his wife Cindy back in 1995, the 25 and over division were the racquetball champions, the United States racquetball champions in mixed competition. A pretty good athlete and keeps himself in great shape, which has allowed him to be this productive at this age. The pitch fouled off by Conine.
Well, it seems as if in this day and age, with the nutrition, the proper diet, the weight training, conditioning, that it's extended a number of players' careers that years ago you didn't see that often.
2-2 from Kim. Hit softly, past Brendan Harrison into center field for the first Marlins hit of the game.
Well, Jeff Conine just staying back here, stays on that ball quite well, is in a great spot, able to drive it into center field for a base hit, and that's what a veteran hitter will do. He got behind in the count, but he fought off a couple of tough pitches, didn't panic, didn't start trying to pull, stayed on the ball, tried to stay inside it, and the result of it was fought off a couple of pitches, found one he could handle, and singled to center field.
Chris Aguila steps in. Very similar to the 1-2 pitch, was probably an inch or two more outside than that one. Kim brought it in just a little bit to paint the outside corner, but he wasn't getting it by Conine.
Well, so oftentimes with a young hitter, an inexperienced hitter, they get 2 strikes and they begin to, a little anxiety starts to creep in and they don't stay within themselves. But a veteran hitter, here again, he doesn't panic and just tries to stay back, take the ball the other way.
From the veteran to the rookie, we'll see what Aguila can do with the runner on. He's worked the count 2-0 in his favor so far. Aguila went deep last night as well. Just his second career home run.
As we'll see here last night, 3-2 count fastball, and he drives it out of the ballpark. And he showed good power. He hit that ball high. He didn't get all of it, but still able to drive it out of the ballpark. And he showed some good defensive ability late in the game last night with a fine running catch.
Well, and that's one of those things where the score is 4-2 going into the top of the ninth. Aguila comes up. He has already had himself an infield base hit in the game. And what does he do? He extends that lead to 3, giving that little more extra breathing room to Armando Benitez, who came in for his 46th save. We're seeing now a pause in play. Rick Reed, the crew chief, behind the plate here tonight, called time, went over to the Expos dugout, approached the security guard there. We've seen a couple of golf balls thrown out into right field so far in this game, and we'll try and keep an eye on that. Here, Aguila deposits this ball into left field. One hop to Termel Sledge, and the Marlins are in business here in the top of the second inning. We'd like to remind you to watch and win here on the Score. Check out the Bombardier Outlander ATV. Watch it drive across the screen, and when it does, log on to thescore.ca and tell us which innings you saw it drive across the screen, and you'll automatically be entered for your chance to win the Bombardier Outlander Max ATV. So after Mike Lowell grounded out to short, Jeff Conine stepped up, served a single into center, and then Chris Aguila, the exciting young rookie, singled to left. 2 on for Luis Castillo. Kim checks the runner Conine at second, deals high and away. One of the things we pointed out, and you talked to Randy St. Clair about it, was the fact, and you see St. Clair coming out to the mound now, he is one of those guys who will not just keep an eye on Kim's mechanics, but on his body language as well. And he's very emotional guy out there, and sometimes his body language will indicate that he's not prepared to go out there and do the job.
Well, I'm not sure what's going on or being said at the mound right now, but it just appears to me like after the base hit by Jeff Conine, he felt like that was a great pitch and I should have gotten him out. Then he comes back and makes a mistake to Chris Aguila, and he drives it into left field. And it looks like he's starting to rush a little bit instead of settle in, stay back, and continue to trust your stuff.
One of the things pitchers like to do is get ahead. 1-0. Misses low, and Kim has not done that so far. In the 7 batters he's faced in this game, he's only thrown 2 first pitch strikes, and that's one of the things that we saw Friday night in Philadelphia. Hey, they were all up there hacking at the first pitch. They knew Kim was going to be around the plate. Not the case so far tonight. The 2-0 up and into Castillo.
And you can see it appears, especially the last couple of pitches, as if he's overthrowing. Right here it looks like instead of trying to keep the ball down and get a double play, he humps up a little bit. The ball's up and out of the strike zone. You have to keep in mind right here, just keep reminding yourself that I'm just 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning. I get a ground ball, get a double play, and get out of it.
3-0 in there for a strike. Castillo, not one of those guys who's likely to hurt you with the long ball. Just 2 home runs this year. Does have good speed, the ability to stay out of a double play, especially with Aguila on at first. Having said that, Enar Diaz will come out and give the signs to the rest of the infield. Should a ball be hit on the ground, exactly what they're going to do here.
Well, in the event that Jack McKeon chooses to start the runners here.
Pitch inside to Castillo. It takes a 5-pitch walk, and now the bases are loaded for the 8-hole hitter, Alex Gonzalez.
But here again, okay, ball 4, you start over. And just try to get ahead in the count, keep the ball down, and get a double play ball. But with the bases loaded and 1 out, what you definitely want to do is minimize the damage, even if you give up a sac fly. Go ahead and get the 3rd out, get out of the inning, and hold them to 1 run in this situation.
Gonzalez, a candidate to ground into the double play. He's done that 17 times this year. Only Paul LaDuca has done it more for the Marlins. He's done it 18.
As a pitcher, sometimes you get too caught up in a situation like this of trying to prevent any runs from scoring, and you make a mistake and put yourself into a big inning.
The 0-1 hit on the ground to short. Asturis backhand, and he can't come up with the throw over to second base. So Asturis thinking double play before he actually had control of the ball. The run will score on the play. Safe at first is Gonzalez, and the Marlins strike first here in the top of the 2nd inning.
There's a ground ball. Not tailor-made double play. It was Izaturis had to range to his right, but still, nonetheless, I think if he gives the second baseman a good feed, they can complete the double play. The ball was hit fairly sharply.
That's one of the things sometimes a young player will do, get a little bit ahead of himself, as Asturis did on that play. The bases remain loaded for the pitcher, Carl Pavano. First pitch, big swing by Pavano, wanted to help himself there.
Well, last night, early in the ball game, the Expos failed to turn a double play that they should have turned. It cost them a run. Here it's cost them a run. Let's hope that it doesn't lead to any more.
Pavano hitting 188, 12 hits and 64 tries. Another swing as Kim elects to go to the breaking ball on that occasion to get Pavano to chase.
Well, this is just a pitcher's hack here, geared for the fastball and breaking ball in the dirt. And really, you would like to see Carl Pavano put the ball in play, get a double play out of this situation. If he strikes out, you're still going to have to face Juan Pierre with the bases loaded, one of the best hitters in the National League.
You do not want to do that. Pitch hit on the ground, but foul by Pavano. And there has been times this year, more often than not, when Expos pitchers have taken a hitter off, if you will, in facing the opposing team's pitcher. We saw it with Ishmael Valdez last night, who got himself a couple of base hits, able to help his own cause, who went on to get the win and improve his record to 14-8. Kim has Pavano behind 0-2. Pitch chopped on the ground towards the middle. Batista picks it up. Only one play. That's the first to get Pavano. But the run scores. Aguila makes it 2-0 Florida.
Well, give Carl Pavano credit. He did put the ball in play, and it led to an RBI and another run for the Florida Marlins.
That's what can happen on occasion. Even a ball that's just put into play, as weakly hit as it is, because it was a chopper, Batista had no other options coming across the infield but to record the out at first base.
And here's one of those big situations that come up in a baseball game that could possibly determine the outcome. 2-0 is not, you still got a long way to go, but 4-0 changes the complexion of the game.
Pierre looking to extend that hit streak to 8 games, and he has been the most prolific hitter in Major League Baseball since August 20th. Pitch, swung on, hit to right center field. Brian Church giving chase. He won't be able to get there. It will drop. Church picks it up on one hop. Both runs will score easily, and Juan Pierre has himself a 2-out, 2-run scoring double to give the Marlins a 4-0 lead.
Well, Juan Pierre just continues to do what he's done all year long, and that's punish National League pitching. Bad location, ball in the middle of the plate, a little up, and a hitter like Juan Pierre is not going to miss it. Big 2-out double, and you can see Sonny Kim is quite disappointed and let down. But here again, it goes back to the play that wasn't made. Even if they would have only gotten 1 out in that situation, the ground ball by Carl Pavano would have ended the inning.
And instead, the error by Asturis allowed the inning to continue with the bases loaded, and the Marlins have taken advantage here in the top of the second inning, putting up a 4 spot. Paul LaDuca looks at strike 1 from Kim. Pierre on in scoring position. Kim gives him a look. Pitch low and in the dirt. We talked about Pierre being the most prolific hitter in Major League Baseball since August 20th, hitting .395. That's even better than what Ichiro has done, who entering play tonight hitting .392 since that time. So Pierre extends his hit streak to 8 games and has given LaDuca a chance to add to the Marlins lead. Chopped foul towards the photo dugout on the first base side. But there's a lot to be said about a pitcher getting into a situation like this, facing a little adversity, but it's their ability to bounce back and how you judge their character, which will make them a better player for next season. Duca looks at another Kim pitch. Deuce is wild. Well, runner on at second, 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs.
Anytime you're down by 4 runs in a baseball game, it's a difficult situation to be in. But down 4 in a second, if you can get out of this inning and then pitch another 5 or 6 strong innings, hold the Marlins scoreless, and give.
Breaking ball to Duca, misses away, and now the count's full. A very tough afternoon and tough evening so far here in Montreal tonight. The announcement of the relocation of the team, 4 o'clock, and Sonny Kim falling behind 4-0 here after 1.5 innings of play. The Marlins put up 4, thanks in large part to Juan Pierre.